2001 through 2006 Nissan Altima fuel pump replacement. I'm Brian Essick from How to Automotive. I'm going to walk you step by step through the process of changing out the fuel pump. The first thing we're going to do is bleed off the pressure from the fuel pump. So what we're going to do is go over here on the right side of the vehicle, on the passenger side. We're going to remove the relay cover box here and pull the fuse out for the fuel pump. And we're going to crank the engine, and that'll bleed off any remaining fuel pressure in the lines. If you look on the side of the lid here, it'll tell you which fuse is for the fuel pump. Go ahead and pull that one out. It's going to be a 15 amp fuse that's in the lower corner of the box right here. I just used a pair of needle nose pliers to remove that fuse. So go ahead and remove that fuse, and then after you get it removed, we're going to go in the vehicle and crank it. If the engine may start until it bleeds off the fuel pressure. Once it dies or stalls, then you crank it a few more times to make sure it's bled off. So the fuel pump is located underneath the rear seat. We need to pop this seat cover up on the bottom here. There's a little tab, so you're going to pull this little tab on the bottom, pull it outwards, and then lift the seat cushion upwards on this side. And you're going to go around on the opposite side and do the same thing. And this is what the little tabs are going to look like. So you're going to grab this little plastic tab and pull outwards, and that releases the seat. Now to get access to the fuel pump, we need to remove this cover here. So you can use a Phillips screwdriver or a pair of pliers like I'm using here, and you're going to turn these little tabs 90 degrees clockwise, and that lines up the slot on there, and then you can pull it off. So you're going to do all 4 tabs and turn them 90 degrees clockwise. Once you get all 4 tabs turned 90 degrees, then you can take the cover and lift it straight up like this. Now you're going to unplug the electrical connector for the fuel pump, which is right here. So you're just going to squeeze the little tabs right here and then pull the wire and electrical connector off. I like to pull from the connector, not from the wires. Now we're going to unplug the fuel line. If we didn't bleed that fuel pressure off, we'd have a lot of fuel spilling out all over this area right here. So I'm going to wipe it off before I do that and get as much of the debris off before we take it apart. You're going to squeeze these little tabs and push the line back. So you'll squeeze the 2 little tabs right here and push the line back. And then on this one line here, you'll squeeze the little tabs, and then it'll flare out these little tabs here, and then you pull the line off. It also helps when you're taking these lines off to push it inwards towards the pump and then squeeze the tab and then pull the line off. Once you get it disconnected, tuck it underneath the tank or under the rail there, and then you're going to do the other side. I had to use a little screwdriver here to flare the little tabs on this one to get this line off. Once you get it unhooked, you can tuck it underneath the fuel tank there also. Now we need to get this ring off. We need to turn it counterclockwise about a quarter turn. And to do that, I use a hammer and a screwdriver or a pry bar like this that you can hit on, and you drive that lock ring counterclockwise around until it pops off. You're also going to want to have some rags nearby in case any fuel spills out or sprays, so you can wipe it up immediately. So I'm going to put my pry bar in one of the little tabs and give it a little tap. And then I'm going to move the pry bar around in a few different spots, driving it counterclockwise until the lock ring pops off. I'm also just lightly tapping this, not like wailing down on it, just lightly tapping it and slowly drive it around counterclockwise. Now you can go ahead and take the ring off and set it aside for now and wipe up any fuel that may have spilled out. So now I have a plastic tray here I'm going to lift this fuel pump straight up, and it's going to be full of gas. And in the cavities of the pump and everything is going to be full of gas. So you're going to lift it up and you're going to put it straight into that little bucket right there. And that'll help reduce anything spilling anywhere. And then you immediately get this out of the car to a safe spot where you can work with it. Once you get the pump out, you're going to need to remove the tank seal here too. We're going to replace it with a new one that comes with the pump. I will link up the pump in the description of the video. So now I'm going to clean off the surface here and try not to get any debris in the tank. After that, we're going to put our new seal in place in the little groove. You'll see the groove right here in the bottom of the tank. You'll lay the seal into the groove. After that, we can make sure those hoses are tucked out of our way. Now we need to prep our new pump. The sending unit does not come attached to it. We need to assemble that so it mounts onto this little arm here. So you need to pop this little clip up just a little bit. And once you get that popped up like this, and then you can take the sending unit and plug it into the float portion of it and plug it into the little arm here so it lines up that little slot, and then you press it on until it clips in. So you'll press it on until it clips in. Now it's clipped in. Now this little plastic ear right here, or plastic little bracket, goes over it, and that locks it in place to make sure it doesn't pop back off. So you have to line it up with a little hole on there and push it in. Now when you get done, it's going to look like this. So the little plastic keeper will snap into place and hold that arm in place so the float stays there. So I'm on the passenger side of the vehicle installing this now. So the float is going to be facing rearwards towards the seat. So you're going to have to angle it in there. So you'll angle this in there, and you want to make sure when you do this, you're not to knock the seal off. So I'll go around the other side and show you what I'm talking about. So you're going to take the pump and put it at an angle and rotate it downwards towards the back of the car like this. And as it goes in, you slide it in, and the pump is spring loaded. So you'll line it all up, and you'll push it in, and you'll look at the lines, and you'll see how the tabs go. And you'll just line it up and push it straight down. And then once you got it pushed all the way down and seated into the tank, then we'll put the ring on and we'll lock the ring down. And you want to be careful not to knock that seal off, and just kind of double check that when you installed it, nothing got knocked off. So you'll line up the tabs and push it straight down until it's fully seated. And also the hard part is holding the lines out of your way at the same time. Once it's fully seated in there, then you'll grab the lock ring, slip it over the pump, and line up the little tabs on it, and start rotating it clockwise until it starts catching. Now that the lock ring is caught all the little tabs that it's mounted onto, then you can take your hammer and your punch or your screwdriver and start driving it around clockwise to lock it in position. And just like when you took it off, you want to do it from a few different angles, and you want to just lightly tap it until it locks into position. If you look at the lock ring, it has a little slot in it. You want that slot to be fully rotated clockwise until it's at the very end of it is butted up against the slot. Now that the lock ring is tight, we can go ahead and install the line that's facing towards the passenger door. You can install that line first, and then the one facing the front of the tank. We need to retrieve a clip that's on the old pump. So you can see how the lock ring is secure. So we're going to go ahead and put this line on until it's secure, give it a tug, and then we're going to get the clip from the old pump and put it onto the next line. So you need to remove this little plastic clip right here. It doesn't come with the new one, so you need to flare these little tabs up and slide it off. And once you get it slid off like this, now you're going to take it to your new pump and you're going to install it on the port like this. So you're going to install it just like that, and then you can take the line and line up these little tabs and pull the line on until it clicks. You want to make sure you hear that click, and then you want to give it a little tug to make sure it does not pop back off. After that, we can plug in the electrical connector for the pump, and then we're going to go start the vehicle and check for leaks. Before we start it, we need to reinstall our fuse here and then put the cover back on the box. Then you're going to want to cycle the ignition switch on a few times before you start it, and then after you cycle it on a few times, you can go ahead and crank the engine over and start the car. By cycling the key, that helps prime the pump. Now with the engine running, you can look back and double check that there's no leaks from the lines or anything. After that, you can go ahead and reinstall the cover, so you'll just put them over, and then you'll turn those little tabs counterclockwise until they're in the lock position. After that, we'll reinstall the seat. So we'll put the seat in, and we're going to put it in at an angle. You want the back of it to tuck underneath the back cushion. You also want to make sure you pull the seat belts up through the little slots on the back of the cushion. And you want to make sure that they're facing each other. They're not twisted in there in any way. So make sure they're not twisted, and then you'll line them up with the slots on the cushion and pull them upwards. Now you can slide the whole seat cushion backwards and tucking it underneath the back of the seat. And then you're going to look around the back side here and look at the little plastic tabs and line it up, and then push it in until it locks into place. Give it a little tug to make sure it's secure. You're going to come around the opposite side and do the same thing. So I will link up all the parts and tools that I use in this video in the description. That way, if you need to pick up any of those, you can find those there. I'm Brian Esser from How to Automotive. I'd like to thank you guys for watching my videos, encourage you to subscribe, invite you to head over to the howtoautomotive.com website for more valuable videos like this. Thank you again for watching.